Hello and welcome to today's yoga class where we'll be working on balance. So one way to work on balance and increase our balance is to practice balance postures. But another way to get better at balancing is to do conditioning exercises that help the body just be stronger and better at balance postures, plus a few tips and tricks. So to get started, we'll begin in a pose called hero pose. And this one you might need some props. So just gonna reach over here real quick for a block or a yoga blanket. So for this posture, I'm on my knees. And what I'll do is knees are together and then step the feet apart. And then we are going to lower the hips between the feet. And unless you practice this often, this is usually not attainable for most people, especially when they first work on this. So if that's the case, then we sit up on a yoga block. Sometimes it's two, sometimes it's a blanket between the feet, a folded blanket, or a combination. So you want to find the right height so that this feels comfortable is probably too nice of a word, but we don't want any sharp pain at all. No pain, no gain is not a thing. We want to feel a gentle stretch. And we'll be here for a little bit, like up to a minute. So we want to be sure we're completely comfortable, okay? So this is a bit of a trial and error if you're just beginning. Do I need one block? Do I need two blocks? How much distance do I need? And if you're quite mobile, then perhaps lowering the hips all the way to the floor. But be sure that the tops of the feet are on the floor. So the shoelaces part of the feet, as opposed to, we don't want to flex the foot and go into that W sit. We want to be in hero pose where we are increasing mobility in the ankles and in the knee joint, creating that healthiness in the joints. Maybe I feel a little bit of a stretch in the tops of the legs, and we hang out here for a bit. So take all the time you need to get set up, and sometimes we feel it mostly in the ankles, sometimes we feel it mostly in the knees. So just be up on a block as much as you need to until all three areas, so quadriceps, knees, and ankles feel okay. And if this pose is just not okay, just skip it altogether, okay? So we stay here, and this is a good centering posture. Usually in a yoga practice, we will do a pose called centering, and it's any pose where you can sit for a couple minutes, and then we close our eyes. So we'll do that now. And it creates a delineation between the outside world and what you were just doing and your yoga practice. It's a few moments in time where you can let go of all the things that you're worrying about, cares, worries, all your thoughts, planning your day, all that. You can just quiet the mind. We'll take a couple deep breaths through the nose, inhaling, and exhale through the nose. One more. Inhale through the nose, and exhale. I'm just hanging out here for a little bit longer. So checking in with the body. Is this too much of a stretch? If so, you can increase the distance between the hips and the floor, maybe another yoga block, another blanket, or maybe you need to come out altogether. Otherwise, just a little bit longer. And we want to find that place where it stretches gently. I know I sound like a broken record when I say that, but we often kind of tense up if something stretches too much. And instead of doing that, we should decrease the stretch and feel, again, comfortable is maybe too nice of a word, but gentle stretch. And from here, let's slowly come on out. So because our legs are all folded up like this, I like to come out and straighten one leg at a time. So slow, 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 come forward. And I also like to come out of this pose slowly. So coming out like an inch, maybe two, and then pause, and then maybe a little bit more. And then extend one leg back, straightening through the leg. And then other side. And then let's head into a seated position with the feet forward. So that was good preparation for balance. I'll explain why later. But basically, if we increase the mobility in the feet and the ankles, it's going to help. And again, I'll demonstrate why later. But for now, we've done a big stretch. Now we want to strengthen. So let's lean back onto the hands. This is one of my favorite conditioning exercises because we just get to relax here. And then what we do with the feet is make some big circles. So let's go circles in an outward direction. So the toes go to the sides outward, and then we point the toes, and then the toes move inward and up. And again, so nice big circles at your own pace, trying to increase the range of motion. So just going as far as the ankles will let you and keep going. So this is a little bit for mobility, but over time, you'll start to feel a little bit of warmth in the ankles. So at first you feel nothing until you do. Keep going. Keep going. I'm not feeling it quite yet, but we should start to feel a small fire in the ankles. Those are tiny little muscles that we don't usually work out or exercise. And the reason why this helps with balance is because our foundation, our feet and our ankles are what is used the most in balance postures. So we're trying to work the ankle muscles here and the feet muscles as well. So the bottoms of the feet. And if you don't feel the bottoms of the feet, we'll try to target those in the next one. So relax for a second. So now I feel that small fire in the ankles. If you don't, it means you've got very strong ankles. Try not to brag about these things, but let's just shake that out a little bit. And then opposite direction. So toes move inward. So circles go inward for both feet. And keep going. So we're trying to create that small fire feeling so that the muscles are fatiguing, which means they're getting stronger. And having strong ankles will help our balance because it's the ankles that we want to move slightly when we're in our balance postures. And I can tell that I haven't been doing these very regularly because I'm feeling that small fire fairly quickly. Keep going. If you need to take breaks, take breaks. Hop back in when you can. Not too much longer. And relax. Shaking it out a little bit. So we're just sort of alternating stretch and strength. We started with a stretch posture, then moved on to a strength one. And so you guessed it, we'll do a stretch one now. Still for the feet and ankles. This next one is called toe stretch, and it's an interesting one. Let's come on up through hands and knees. And then for this one, tuck the toes under and then sit back onto the heels. Oh, I can feel it already. My ankles are dying. And what we're looking for is a toe stretch. That's it. We just sit here. One thing I like to do though is just take a quick peek before you really get into it. We want all the toes pointing forward. So I kind of like to just sort of stand up here and then make sure all toes are pointing forward and then resituate myself. So this is not a traditional yoga pose or yoga posture. This is a stretch that helps our yoga. So it's kind of like conditioning. And this pose specifically, again, it's not a traditional yoga pose, but the stretch specifically I love because we don't tend to take care of our feet so much when we just do sport or go to the gym or even yoga. So it's nice to add those complementary stretches and strength exercises that help our sport or help our yoga or help our posture, that kind of thing. Now this one, now I'm just starting to feel a little bit of a burn there. It's an interesting stretch because we're stretching the big toe joint and the long ligament on the bottom side of the foot. And it is so good for us. But anytime we are trying to lengthen a ligament, it is important not to overstretch, first of all, so gentle stretch, and it's important to hold it for longer. So ligaments take longer to stretch and elongate than muscles do. So we want to hold them longer and feel more gentle. So if this is too much, lean forward and place some weight onto the hands. I'm doing okay here. This is actually my ankles that are feeling it from the last one, which is good. But this toe stretch, I try to throw into my practice every month or so to keep my feet healthy. Last few moments here. And when we do come out, what we'll do is come out again a couple inches first, hold, and then all the way. It just feels nicer. Okay, that should be good. So now, couple inches we'll move forward, but keep the bend in the toes. And then coming all the way out. And it's like they don't want to go back to normal. Maybe stretch one leg back with the toes pointed. Other leg back with the toes pointed. Okay. That was our stretch. So now we'll move into strength. That's all the ones I have for the feet for today. There's lots more, actually, believe it or not. I've got like a whole list of exercises for the feet, which I sounded way too excited about that. Let's head into a core strengthener. So for this one, it's a super simple one, not necessarily easy, but it's very simple. So in a seated position with the knees bent, feet on the floor, I've got my knees all the way together and the feet too, lifting up nice and tall. Belly scoops in. This is for the core. So we lean back as far as is moderately comfortable. So just on the edge of comfort. We don't want comfortable. We want our core to be working. So pull the belly in, pull it in, pull it in. And then to assist the core, we hold on to the knees if you're looking for more challenge. Arms are parallel along your sides, palms facing in, and then little pulses. So just little pulse. It's like you're row the boat a little bit. This is a modification of boat pose in yoga, and it's a dynamic variation. And it works our core. Why does having a strong core help our balance? It just does. So we want a strong core for balance. It's basically, if you think about all of the places that a human body can bend when you're in a balanced position, those, any of our joints, we want all of those areas to be strong and mobile. Keep going. If you need to break, just kind of head forward, take a bit of a rest, hop back in when you can. I love this one though. It's one that you can build over time and even use a timer too. Often in my own practice, I just do this till I feel the burn, take a little rest and carry on. And then when I feel like, no, I'm done with that exercise, that's when I finish. So other times I'll actually use a 2-minute timer and see how much of that 2 minutes I can keep going for. Not trying to push anything too much, but noticing over time how it becomes easier and easier, which means I'm getting stronger and stronger. Last few moments here. And relax. So again, we're alternating stretch and strength. So that was a strength. We'll head into a stretch now. We'll head into bound angle pose. So with the soles of the feet together, let the knees tip out to the sides. Lifting up nice and tall in an inhale. Exhale, heading forward. So for this one, if you're not forward at all and your knees are up by your ears and it's a struggle to stay upright, you can have the fingertips behind you or sit up on a block or a folded blanket. It really does help, and it's better as far as efficiency it's better to sit up on something so your torso's upright, if not slightly forward. That will get you flexible faster than bringing the fingertips behind you. But if you don't have a yoga prop near you at this moment, then it's definitely okay to bring the fingertips, tent them, lifting up with your fingertips behind you. This pose isn't specifically to help balance postures, but it will help one of our balance postures. It's like a warm-up for our balance posture coming up. And we just hang out and try not to fidget like I am. Just hold still. And then slowly, slowly come on up and release the pose by bringing the legs forward, maybe a couple little knee taps. And from here, we'll move just a little bit. So again, warming up for our balance postures that we'll be practicing today. So let's move through cross-legged, coming forward to hands and knees, heading up and back to a downward facing dog. One of the best stretches of all time ever. So I like to pop that into our classes wherever I can. Maybe walking it out a little bit. I love doing that. It's great for the calves. So one heel gently lowers down towards the mat as the opposite knee bends, and then switch. And then from here, we'll head into a three-legged down dog. So keep the left leg straight and the heel lowering down towards the floor. Extend the right leg back behind you and up. Doesn't have to go high. Just feeling a nice stretch. It helps to increase the stretch a little bit on that supporting leg. And then we'll step that right foot forward. Between the hands, you might need to help it forward with a lift or maybe a scooch or maybe a combination. And then untuck the toes behind you and come on up. So this is for the hip flexor. Left side hip flexor, feeling that stretch in the front of the hip. And just a few deep breaths. So we're not here too long. And then nice and slow, we'll head all the way back to downward dog. So hands slightly wider than shoulders width apart. And then stepping it back to downward facing dog. And then we'll repeat the other side, starting with three-legged down dog. So right leg stays, left leg sweeps up. Just taking a second here. Feel that nice stretch. And then step that left foot forward. Maybe helping it there if needed. Back knee gently lowers. And then come on up. So you might want to have something behind the back knee. I usually do have a folded blanket or a cushion, something like that. Especially if we're holding it longer. Today we're just here for a few deep breaths. And come on all the way up and back to downward facing dog. So step the front foot back, downward dog. And then send the feet forward between the hands all the way to the top of your mat. And we'll hang out in a forward fold. So the feet are parallel, maybe a slight bend to the knees, relaxing through the neck. And then slowly ragdoll, one vertebra at a time, all the way up to standing. And we'll prepare for our first balance posture. So tree pose is a great balance posture. We'll start on the left leg. So left leg is straight. Most important is that foundation. So the foot all warmed up now, thanks to our ankle circles. And we want that left foot completely parallel. So inside of the foot is completely parallel with the sides of your mat, the long sides of your yoga mat. Right knee tips out to the side, and then from here we place the foot below the knee, or if you're feeling ambitious, bringing it up over the knee. So we don't want to, there's like a nice little notch where the knee, the arch just fits right comfortably there. We're not supposed to do that. It has to be either below the knee or above the knee. And then we hold and bring the hands to heart center. Pull the belly in, hold here, hold, hold, hold. And this pose, balance poses are so great for so many things. So just try to hang on to this one here. Whether you're holding it steady or falling all over the place, don't worry about it. If you fall out, get right back in. Almost done. I fell out a couple times. And relax. We'll head into the other side. So right leg is completely parallel. Left knee tips out to the side, and same variation as the first side. So if the leg was below the knee, place the left foot below the knee. If it was above the knee, place it above the knee and try and hold on to it. So I've given you no tips, no tricks, no advice, nothing. Just hanging out here. And we'll do this one again, but I'll try to be a little bit helpful, and then we'll just notice the difference between the two attempts. So if you fall out, get right back in. Trying to hold on to it. And come on out. Okay, so second attempt, let's think specifically about the ankle. So what happens in balance postures, we're never ever, you don't get into a balance posture and then you're in it. Ah, I found balance, and then you're there forever. That's not how balance works. We are continuously moving towards balance, right? Your body will waver and you will correct, and you're continuously moving towards balance. You're never like there and you've arrived. So there's different areas of the body that can help facilitate that. The most efficient one is the ankle. So most of us tend to use the core, right? When we pick one foot up, we kind of go like this, and so we bend kind of at the waist, trying to hold on to it. That's really inefficient, and it winds up throwing us off balance. But think about the ankle. When I learned this, this was just like game changer. So the ankle, let your ankle move from side to side. So pinky toe side of the foot to the big toe side of the foot. Let it move, and try to think of the whole rest of the body as stationary. Okay, so let's try that again with that specific tip. Okay, so left leg, before we even pick up the right leg, feel the foot rocking between the big toe and the pinky toe. And notice how your ankle has movement there. Here we go. So pick up the right leg, place it either below the knee or above the knee, and let the left ankle, the supporting ankle, shift back and forth between the big toe and the pinky toe. Keep the belly scooped in, but it really makes it easier. Two more things that make it even more easy. So keep the ankle moving, scoop the belly in, so strong core, yes, will help. And then another tip is to think about the top of the head and imagine that the ceiling is pushing against the top of your head, and your head is pushing right back against the ceiling. So if that were truly the case, you would find infinite balance because you are actually stuck between the floor and the ceiling. You would have nowhere to go. So visualize that, and still thinking about that rocking between the pinky toe and the big toe. If you fall out, get right back in. Practice it again. It's interesting. I find it fascinating how that helps so much. Not as much as I'd like sometimes, but it's a huge help. I also notice the rest of my leg fatiguing, which is awesome. It means I'm getting stronger. And we'll come on out. So shaking or rolling out that supporting leg. We'll do the other side. So right leg straight, left knee tips out to the side, and just practice that ankle moving from the pinky toe side of the foot to the big toe side of the foot and back again. Picking up the left leg. Here we go. And if you fall out, get right back in. And that's the final piece of advice. Not caring. It sounds oversimplified, and it is. But that's sort of one of the philosophies of yoga, is we just make everything too complicated. Keep it simple. So if you fall out of this yoga pose, so many people are like, why can't I hold this? And they feel frustration. Or they're like, yoga's stupid, or something, right? And really what yoga's trying to teach us to think is, if you fall out, get back in again. That's it. That is it. And that is a lesson that I found I can carry off the yoga mat with me, right? If I falter, get back at it. We spend so much time, we waste so much time thinking, why did that happen? Why did it happen to me? What am I doing with my life? When really just, if you falter, get back at it. If you fail, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, I think is a proverb I've heard once, and come on out. So many life lessons in a simple tree pose. Also getting stronger. Never hurt anyone. So one more balance posture that's a little bit harder, but the same applies. All of those things apply. So warrior 3, let's stand on the right foot. And remember the rocking between the big toe side of the foot and the pinky toe side of the foot. And we'll send the left toes back. So we want most of the weight to be on that right leg, just the weight of the leg on the back leg. Let's bring the arms to an airplane position. This is not the traditional final position for warrior 3, but we're working on balance today. So we're doing variations and conditioning. So from here, I will scoop the belly in and then lift up the back leg. So eventually my back leg will lift up and my torso will be parallel to the floor, as will my back leg. Actually, we're trying to get the torso just a tiny bit higher and the leg just a teensy bit higher. But mostly we're trying to focus on the ankle. So don't worry too much about the height of anything. And in fact, if you're way up here, that's still airplane, or that's still warrior 3, right? Even if my leg is hardly off the ground, because my torso only goes forward because my back leg lifts up. It's almost like your back leg's connected to your torso, and only because the back leg lifts up does the torso move forward, like a lever. And if you fall out, get right back in. Hold, hold, hold. This one is actually a little bit more challenging to the muscles, which is good. And let's come on out. So noticing that the foot, now that you know that, it's like it does it automatically, which is awesome. So other side, left leg is parallel, right toe is behind you, arms in a T position, and here we go. So lifting the right leg up, and only because the right leg lifts up does the torso move forward. And not worrying too much about how high the leg is or how low the torso is, but really focusing on that rocking motion of the foot. And the whole body is just sort of floating over top of this rocking foot. And if you fall out, don't care. Get right back in. See if you can not think anything. Just fall out, get back in. And I actually like to practice that. Like I'll fall out on purpose even. Let's slowly come on out. Not like fall out on purpose, but make it more challenging, right? Move the arms. The T position of the warrior 3 is the easiest variation. Change it up so it's more challenging. If you're not falling out, you should be falling out a little bit, right? We want to, if it doesn't challenge us, it won't change us. So try to find that point where you do need a little bit of assistance or it's a little bit challenging so that you can work on that perseverance, right? Get back into it. And that helps you in sport, it helps you in life, and it's just such a good little tip or a little trick that I picked up with yoga. So from here, let's move into, let's sit down. That was a lot. Let's head into one of my favorite poses. It's called Marichyasana C. So the legs are forward. Let's bend through the right leg and keep the left leg straight. This is a spinal twist. So to make it a little bit easier, take the left arm and hug the right knee. The right hand is right near the tailbone behind you. Then we look to the right So it's a nice spinal twist. If this is too mild for you, cross the left elbow right over. But what we don't want to do is overstretch the upper back or the lats. We want to lift up tall. Almost feel like you're doing a little mini cobra here. And then little bit of leverage between the elbow and the knee. Little bit is the operative word here. Shoulders down, lifting up nice and tall. There's a tendency to lean back. Try not to. Use the right arm behind you to keep the body perpendicular to the earth. And opening up. One more inhale to lengthen. And on your exhale, unraveling, unwinding, and maybe a couple little knee taps, relaxing in between sides. And we're ready for the second side. So we'll bend through the left leg, extending through the right, and then same variation as the first side. So if you were hugging the knee on the first side, then we'll do that on the second side. If you cross that arm over, try to do that same variation, lifting up nice and tall. So a little bit of almost feeling like a little bit of a back bend will help us achieve a straight torso, and opening up. Every inhale getting taller. Every exhale opening up just a little bit more. One more inhale to lengthen. And exhale, unraveling, unwinding, and release the bent leg. That is all for today. Let's end with a Shavasana, final resting pose. So lay all the way back. And as always, if your back requires a little extra support today as you're lying all the way flat on your back, feel free to keep your knees bent with the feet on the floor and allow the knees to tip in towards each other. And otherwise, extend the legs on the ground and the arms as well, palms facing up along your sides, and close the eyes. Softening everything, but especially through the neck and the shoulders, and all the way down the arms. Allowing your body just a little bit of rest after everything we learned today. That allows your body to put that into muscle memory. And it also just gives yourself a little bit of a rest. But we're not here long. Starting to come back, wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. And then reaching your arms above head on the floor for a big stretch. Bending your knees. Gently roll over to the right side. And slowly press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. But when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall. And exhale, softly close the eyes. And taking those final moments to thank yourself for showing up to your practice today and taking care of you. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a really good rest of your day, and I will see you next time.